Welcome all to the Node. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and joining me shortly will be David. This is your place for news, interviews, and education. If you want to join us next Tuesday, we're actually doing our next interview. It's going to be with Zenith Gustav, the head of ecosystem, will be joining us. And Zenith is an interesting project built on Canton Network. And we talked about it yesterday. We did a deep dive, and I'll show you where to find that if you want to go and check that out. Not just our show, but the actual deep dive itself that you can go through yourself. But they are bringing EVM or Ethereum, basically dApps to Canton Network. So really interesting project. I'm interested to hear what they have to say, about what it is that they have currently built and what they're currently developing. So welcome everyone in the chat. Looks like Ginger Prince, welcome. Was chatting with you over in Drew's show, Blockchain Basement. Drew's an old buddy of mine. We've been friends for a couple of years now. So he comes on the show every once in a while, and great guy. Let's see. Oh, there's David. We got Crispy in the chat. We got looks like we got the whole crew showing up. We got Big Lou. What up, Big Lou?
Yo.
All right. I was just kind of going over, like the interview that we're doing next week, just kind of talking about a little bit about what we got going on. But I do want to show this real quick. So let me add you to here too. So if you want to join us, just really quick, I want to briefly let everybody know where to find us. If you want to find us on YouTube, it is at the Node Network, all one word. Pop on over here, check us out. If you like our content, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. It's the most powerful thing you can do to help us get the good word out to people. And along that note of getting the good word out is our official website, node.pro. There is a ton of hold on. It's saying it. Hold on, let me try. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, I got an error saying it wasn't. We have a bunch of no-cost content, educational content, like structured courses and other quizzes and material that you can go through. No catches, no gimmicks. We just want to educate you. So you can come over here and you can find that in our under Learn, on the menu under More. You can find the programming when all of our different shows are on. You can find the Intel library. This is powerful. So this is the two deep dives that we're doing today. Keeta Network and Ethena. And David will be going through those in the second half of the show. But you can find all of the different protocols, all the different projects that we have done deep dives on. Like here, this is Zenith, that we're going to be interviewing next week. We got Morpho, we got Dexy, we got Aerodrome, Hermetica, Chainlink, Cardano, Providence, Monad, Euler, Zcash, Injective. A bunch of these, like Zcash. The day before that whole debacle, we actually did our deep dive and found what ended up, kind of happening to it the very next day. Aave, we did a deep dive on Aave, and what we found on that led David, who was a huge Aave proponent, had his life savings on Aave in about, 2 weeks? Or no, it was like 3 days.
It was like 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days before freaking Aave went teats up, he pulled his life savings off of there. And it was due to the deep dive that we did. So even somebody as knowledgeable and steeped in DeFi, David got value from the deep dives that we did on this show. So, there's some powerful, powerful information here. So with that, let's dive into the news. All right. So this is a little bit old news, but Visa card settlement completes in seconds on Canton, running 24/7 outside banking windows. So all of this runs fully automated without the need for manual intermediaries. Basically manual processes to make all of it work. So this is something that they've been working on for quite a while. Visa launched on Canton. I believe they're a super validator as well, if I'm not mistaken, as is MasterCard, which I find very interesting. JP Morgan Chase. There's a lot of really big names that aren't building or in discussions with Canton, they are live. They are, fully live, generating fees. On
You
the
can't sleep on Canton. You
no,
can't. You
no,
can't sleep on it. I mean, this is becoming one of my favorite projects. It really is. Especially with Zenith. Like I
yeah,
like the idea of being able to build retail-facing dApps on top of Canton in an environment that I'm already familiar with. Like I can build using Solidity. Maybe someone who's more familiar with Solana, they can build using Rust. And hey, you can run your dApp on Canton through their VMs. It's like a virtual machine.
yeah.
So that's super, super cool. And this Canton network, that post that I published in the Discord, yeah, this morning, first thing this morning, man. I'm just reading about Canton, and just I think it was in the community alpha one. There we go. Yeah, so it's the one about Canton. I think
This
there
one
it
here.
is. That's the post. Yeah.
AIXBT. Yeah.
Yep.
Let me do it.
Yeah. So that right there, man. So this is super interesting to me because here's the thing: if Canton gets to that burn mint equilibrium, the market's going to front run that. So if that happens, what we need to be able to do is model the price. Like, where could the token go? If it's trading, realistically, so it's trading at like what, 17 cents, 16 cents, something like that. So since it seems to be pretty cheap, and if we take a look at the market cap of Canton, if I just take a look at the market cap of the CC token, we're talking about 6.3 billion. So, what I'm thinking about here is where can this thing go? Can it go from 6.3 to 60? Can it do a 10x? Is that?
I mean, it has a somewhat, what I feel is a somewhat realistic market cap or valuation based off the $2 to $3 million currently per day in fees that it generates. And that doesn't take into account the money that they're making separately from just the transactions on the network. But go ahead.
Well, yeah. So I mean, just think about that for a second. Like, if you compare that type of revenue to literally every other crypto or digital asset project, protocol, coin, chain, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, who can compete with that? Maybe Hyperliquid on most days, maybe, Tether and Circle. But Tether and Circle make money because they hold like tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of treasuries.
By law, they can't share it,
and they can't pass it along to their token holders. So you talk about a scam, that sucks. But as far as like a DeFi or crypto project, protocol, chain, coin, token, any of them, if we're talking about revenue, we're talking about Canton and Hyperliquid. That's it. There's no others that are even close. So
there's others that generate fees and revenue, but not at the scale.
Not at that scale. Yeah,
exactly. So I just wanted to point out because like Arrow, they generate some really good fees, but not at the scale of Hyperliquid or Canton.
I don't think they do. I was going through that in the premium call yesterday, Mike, with one of our premium members, and we were going back through that Aerodrome research. And I think it's definitely worthwhile to drill down on the revenue that Dromos Labs generates, because Dromos Labs is the parent, I guess you would say, company for Aerodrome. And here, just one sec. So Dromos, this is because how I'm always talking about, like, if the name of the company is like some harbinger of evil or like losing money or something bad, like, you probably want to go the opposite direction. Do you know what a Dromos is? I didn't until I looked it up yesterday. A Dromos, and you're going to love this shit. A Dromos is a fucking pathway to the underworld. It's a doorway to hell. That's what a Dromos is, bro. They named their company Dromos Labs.
Well, but to be fair, that buying the token isn't an investment in Dromos per se or directly.
I know. All I'm saying is, like red flag.
It is interesting. It is interesting.
Yeah.
So let's read this out real quick. So Canton Network generated 193 million in fees just in Q1 of 2026. 42% of all fees across 21 chains Masari tracks.
Dude, pause for a second there, Mike.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a big deal right there.
Almost half.
And I bet if you throw Hyperliquid in there, it's like we're talking about 90% of all fees between those two.
And it's important to understand that about these projects. And when you're buying these tokens, is if you're investing in the project, is the project profitable? First of all, is there a connection? I was talking to Ginger Prince about this over on Drew's show in Blockchain Basement. I started mentioning value capture, and he was like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, I'm glad you asked. Value capture is basically the tokenomics or mechanics built around the token and the place that it holds in that ecosystem. So and this is a big if, there's a lot of projects out there that don't generate fees or revenue, the company or the protocol. But it needs to generate fees and revenue. And then of those fees and revenue, is there any connection to token holders through programmatic buybacks like on Hype, burns, things like that to make the token deflationary? Canton Network, those are good, solid projects that have good, solid tokenomics that are generating a good amount of fees and revenue. And through those processes, those mechanics and tokenomics, in a either a direct or indirect way, they are sharing those revenue and fees with the token holders. There's a lot of projects like Ondo. That's a big one I've been beating up lately. It is purely a governance token. All it does is allow you to vote on proposals.
And Mike, remember when we ran the deep dive research on Ondo? And what we learned was that they basically stripped all the revenue generation from that token and redirected it to like some entity in the Cayman Islands.
And so the way that they did that was because they controlled the majority of the voting power.
Right. So it's like, okay.
The governance token is worthless.
Dude, so if you can vote to give yourself all the money, that's what they did. They own all the governance. And so they were like, hey, we're making all this money. Why don't we just keep it all?
We like money, so we're going to keep the money.
So, why don't we vote to keep the money and not give it to anyone who holds the token? Yeah. And so that's exactly what they did. And people look at the tech and what's being launched on Ondo.
They're doing amazing things.
It's cool.
Ondo is doing amazing things.
Super cool.
But what does that do for us, the token holders?
Nothing.
Jack and shit.
Nothing. Yeah. Zero. Big goose egg. So
that's what I'm talking about with value capture.
Yep,
so
me too.
Like XRP, same thing. It is a very
God, we can't start talking about XRP, man.
That's all I'm going to say about
it's too easy to dump on that scam.
Stellar XM. They're starting the company is starting to do great things. With tokenization.
I mean, they've got supposed partnerships to maybe kind of sort of one day hopefully do something.
If you look at RWA.xyz, they got some decent TVL on the chain. I'm going to give them more credit where credit is due.
How much is it?
I mean, you can take a look real quick.
Let me. I'm curious, but I want to get through this post on Canton.
The token XLM was started by, I forget the guy's name. I need to freaking look it up, so I'm always referencing this. But he used to work for Ripple, and he left. And for a while, he was dumping XRP because he had to, when he left, and started XLM. It's basically the same fucking thing.
Okay. So here's the thing. If we're talking about XLM Stellar, and we got to think about this in the context of the operating system wars and
that's it. Jeb McCaleb. Thank you, Crispy.
Yeah. So it's XLM bunch of bullshit, XRP bunch of bullshit. So here's the thing with XLM Stellar and RWAs. This is the way that I think about this. Okay. I just looked at RWA.xyz. Okay. It's like 2-point-something billion of RWAs supposedly tokenized on Stellar. Yeah, okay.
Based on the data.
Yeah, so I always think about it this way. Like, we've got all these different chains. I think it's going to be winner take most. And just like the operating system wars, just like the browser wars, this is the blockchain wars.
Yep.
And so if you got institutions that are they're basically just letting their treasuries, tokenized treasuries, sit on Stellar. And institutions, if we're talking about $2 billion, that is very, very small. Very small.
It's stagnant capital.
It's doing nothing.
Yeah.
And the Stellar,
if it's not moving, it's not even generating fees.
They can't borrow against it. They can't do shit. So, Stellar, like with a small, tiny amount of US tokenized treasuries on there, like they've got a window. Like basically for the next 12 months, Stellar's got to be able to build something real, or it's going to go the way of the dinosaur, like we're seeing all these other chains go.
Somehow they need to give those RWAs access or connectivity to DeFi protocols, to where people can borrow against, those assets, or they can, do something with them. Because for token holders, even the only thing that makes that token even somewhat deflationary is its use as a gas token. And
Stellar's tokenomics suck.
Yeah,
they're horrible.
But per transaction, it's 0.00001 XLM. It's the same as XRP. Per transaction.
It's just a scam.
At max TPS, max throughput, if a 4,000 TPS, it would take over 5,000 years to burn just 10% of the token supply.
No, don't worry about that. We don't have to worry about all that. Those are facts. We don't deal in facts.
So let's get back to the news. All right, we get very passionate here and get on. So DeFi Llama shows a 0 TVL because Broadbridge, they're 300.
That's the repo. That's the Broadbridge is the repo layer. Yeah.
Yep. And they have $348 billion in daily repo settlement. Daily. That's how it's generating 2 to 3 million currently per day in fees. The DTCC's treasury.
So just think about that though. $350 billion in daily repos on Canton. Mm-hmm. And think about the size of the repo market. I think it's like some crazy number every day. Like
in the hundreds.
I think it's like, it's some massive number, like some crazy number, right? Because the US Treasury asset is like the global reserve asset. And so people need to be able to borrow cash against their treasuries. That's what a repo market is. It's overnight for the most part.
It's basically short-term loans.
Yeah. So, I mean, this stuff.
Institutions and stuff like that.
And if you listen to JP Morgan, what they're saying is we are going to tokenize between 15 and 20% of our repo book, and we're going to put it on digital rails over the next 18 months. And so it looks like Canton is going to get that. Yeah. So if Canton does end up getting that, well, then maybe this, $350 billion in daily repo is just the beginning, just the very beginning. And maybe that token price at 16 cents, maybe that is like, the best opportunity for this next bull that there is, So we've got to think about like, how do we model the token price? What are the inputs that matter to drive price?
Well, let me finish reading this real quick, and then I want to get into something that I think you're going to find really interesting, David, because this is going to kind of put a lot of the RWAs and the tokenized assets on Canton and connected networks on potentially on steroids here soon.
Mike, do you see what? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you see what Trump said today about we're just going to take the oil in Iran? I love that shit, dude. Like he starts bombing Iran again.
I peed on it. He's gonna fly over there and pee on it. It's his.
And then so he starts bombing again, and then crude goes down. Well, it went down a little bit earlier this morning. It bounced since then, but just had to point that out. Sorry.
Yeah, let's. I want to finish this off because there's a lot to go over today. I might not get to it all. So basically, the 348 daily repo settlement, the DTCC's treasury tokenization are invisible to every standard crypto dashboard. That's why if you go to DeFi Llama and stuff like that, it doesn't show the TVL. Canton trades at 16.5 cents spot, while over the counter is pricing it at 18, almost 19 cents. a 15.6% premium.
Mike, you're showing the can Borsa.
I know, because that's what I'm getting to next. 400 million tokens burned in 3 weeks, and actual settlement activity. A DTCC production pilot goes live July, with full launch in October. If the entity that clears virtually every U.S. securities trade successfully tokenizes treasuries on Canton, the 25 trillion UST market gets a new settlement ramp. If they delay or pivot to Stellar, the thesis breaks. And so I don't see him using Stellar, and I kind of went into that.
Well, you can't use Stellar. It doesn't work. It's like,
no, it's just it doesn't have the way that it's built. It's not built like modular to where they can upgrade it to keep up with regular.
Look, so we don't have to overthink this. Like, if they could use Stellar, and if Stellar were superior, they would be using it. The fact that they are not, and instead using Canton, tells you all you need to know.
Well, and to be fair, they did announce that they were going to do some tests and stuff on Stellar. But I just whenever anybody says that we're going to test out a network, I take that with a grain of salt.
It's the same. It's like that
doing it already.
Yeah, man. It's that same XRP type. Oh, we partnered with. Yeah, and we've got a don't worry about that. We got a partnership. We partnered, but we partnered with Jesus. And so when that's coming, number go up.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So this is why I wanted to get to that, because you got me digging when you posted that in the Discord. So this Can Borsa is the first perpetual RWA DEX on Canton. You can trade tokenized oil, gold, stocks, real estate, and crypto on-chain with on-chain perps live June of 2026. So let's actually go.
That's cool.
This website,
canborsa.com.
Yep, Canborsa. Yep, canborsa.com. And so you can come on here, and actually, you know what? You go ahead and bring it up, because you're a lot more knowledgeable about these protocols, and maybe walk us through, and because this is the first look for you. And
this looks cool, man.
Yeah, you tell us what you think.
Okay, let's check this out. Okay, so the first perpetual RWA DEX built on Canton. I love it. Trade RWAs, real world assets on chain, built on the institutional grade blockchain trusted by major banks and institutions. That's Canton. That's the chain that they're referring to here. Okay, awesome. Let me scroll down. DeFi grew up, your assets didn't. Okay. Everything a trader needs, one platform. All right, so swap, exchange crypto, RWAs, and stables without intermediaries. Canton, Ethereum, and Solana are supported. So this might be using Zenith. What do you think?
I think it might. With that with that EVM aspect to it. And I'm going to be now that I know about that and it's live. I've been wanting to get into more Canton. But like over on Kraken, I can only do it the way that that I found. Only buy it through my my bank account, not through my wallet. And there's a couple other places. I mean, I can do it with my wallet, but I got to send it using the address and stuff. If I can connect to this and just swap for it, I like that a lot more.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Especially if I can connect my EVM or SVM wallet to this thing, and then send ETH, and then use this Can Borsa protocol to swap ETH for CC, and then if I've got spot CC, and then I can send that to what's the wallet called again? I've got it installed. I think it's called Send Wallet. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So swap wallet perps. What else we got? Prediction markets, cool. Integrated with Polymarket and Kalshi. That's awesome. Coming in Q3.
Yeah.
Loans, okay, great. Need this. So it's perps DEX. It's a prediction market. It's a spot exchange. It's also a wallet. And there's a money market built into this. Loans, yield products, and fractional ownership of real estate. Automated rental income. Dude, this is very cool. So 3 steps to your first trade: connect wallet, pick an asset, trade or swap. Sweet. Infrastructure trusted by institutions. That's Canton. Cross chain. Canton, mainnet, ETH mainnet, BNB chain, BNB chain too. Okay, that's great. There's all sorts of. There's always like.
And with Ethereum, then that includes Base.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, so it looks like the mainnet is what's supported, but maybe it's multi-chain. Let's take a look. Trade now. Okay, so
and I know that that wallet you just mentioned. What was it called?
Send.
That Send. That connected Base with the Canton network. Remember we were going through
yes, it did. I remember. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I can create a little account over here.
That's a good question, Ginger Prince. I wonder if this could be a big competitor to Hyperliquid long term.
I mean, hey, look, we've got to be on the lookout for something like that.
Well,
because
connected to Canton, with the amount of liquidity it seems to be sucking up, it could be an 800-pound gorilla in the future.
I mean, take a look at all of these assets and look at this. Apple X stock, Nvidia X stock, Tesla X stock. So this immediately makes me think of like some type of funding rate arbitrage. If I can throw tokenized Apple stock on here, and then if it allows me to trade AAPL, it doesn't. Okay, so it looks like you can only trade these handful of items at first. But if I were able to trade Apple stock on here and deposit tokenized Apple stock as collateral, to give me margin to trade, then I could deposit $1 of tokenized Apple stock. If the funding rate for the Apple perp is very positive, then I deposit that tokenized Apple. I get short $1 of tokenized Apple against it, and then I just earn that funding rate. Now, once you can hedge, once there's an interest rate swap protocol on Canton, similar to Boros, Pendle Boros, then you can hedge your funding rates. So that's super cool. All right, so if I go over here and I go to balances, CC. Okay, look, it says send. I can send it. Withdrawal is not available. Damn. So you can't actually send it. Okay, that sucks. All right. So what can I send? Can I send ETH? No, I can't send ETH. Can I send Tether? You can, but you can only do so on ETH mainnet, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This looks like a very early find.
Yeah, it does. It does. It looks like most of this stuff doesn't work yet. What about like Tether Gold? Send, can't send. Okay, so it looks like I can only on-ramp and send, or at least I can only send.
Stables.
Tether stables, yeah, USDC, USDT. Okay. Can I receive?
I mean, as far as...
look, deposit not available yet. Okay, so I can't receive Canton either.
Basically, and not to say that it's necessarily a good thing, and it's not. This isn't something I'm going to jump on and start using right away until there's more to it. But but you could onboard USDT or USDC, swap it for whatever asset, and do whatever it is you're going to do, and then whenever you want to take your liquidity off, switch it to USDC or USDT and pop it off.
Yeah, you really got to trust this thing, though.
That's what I'm saying. Though I don't think that there's the liquidity on it right now where I would want to be using it. But I wanted to point this out because this could become something, something awesome. As far as being on the Canton network, natively.
I mean, I like this. This is definitely a way to swap into and out of CC, and it looks like it's spot CC, but I can't quite tell.
Since it's built on the Canton network, I would guess that it is.
Not necessarily. It could. Okay. It could be just some type of synthetic.
Now, a cool thing, I turned Jeff onto this because he's our airdrop friggin' aficionado. So here, I'll just share my screen really quick. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it looks like you can generate points. So
Yes.
basically by doing different tasks and stuff like that, your first swap, your first crypto swap, first
Your
deposit.
first crypto swap. It's so cute. Your first swap.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, there's some people that are into this. They'll put like $5, on it,
Sure.
and they'll swap and they'll do all these different things, and basically you're just helping them test and look for bugs, on the platform.
I think it's great.
And sometimes, I mean, sometimes this ends up being nothing. The airdrop ends up being shit. Other times, it could be worth it. $500, $1,000. I've gotten some airdrops that I wasn't even trying to get. Simply by holding those arrow locks, I've gotten a bunch of different airdrops.
The biggest one that I ever got was Wormhole. I was using Wormhole to bridge between EVM and SVM and SUI. Maybe not SUI, definitely EVM and SVM. And I got it was like 6K from the W token airdrop. That was the biggest one I've ever gotten. And then I thought that the Camino airdrop was going to be worth something, and so I tried farming that thing, and I got like $5 or so. It wasn't quite $5, but it was like, like what the fuck.
Well, I mean, one of the projects that I like, it's a long shot, but Plume. I mean, they had where people were farming that fucking airdrop for like a year and a half, it felt like, and they got screwed. I mean, it ended up being next to nothing. That whole community freaking rioted when they finally freaking revealed, fucking what they gave people for, all the work that they did. Because there was people that were freaking trying to get all kinds of points. But anyway, all right.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
It's difficult to value points. That's something that's very difficult to do. You've got to basically be able to put a price tag on the FDV of the token launch.
Yeah.
And then you've got to figure out, okay, so if you can value the token at launch, and you can kind of sort of figure out like, okay, what are the points worth then?
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to put an FDV on the token. And you know who's really good at doing that is Steven TCG. He's really good at doing that. Yeah.
Well, we might have to turn Jeff onto him if he hasn't already. All right. So let's get into some articles. Institutional tokenization expands. Citigroup is reportedly launching a new service to offer tokenized shares of private companies, specifically targeting wealthy and institutional clients. This continues the trend of major traditional financial institutions bridging the gap between legacy private equity and blockchain-based settlement. So something that has always annoyed me and David is the qualified investor, where you can't invest in something unless you're already rich. So I have been seeing crypto as a backdoor or a way to invest in the rails or the platforms that that these ultra wealthy are going to be using to transact using these assets that are exclusive or for the high end clients, because it pisses me off that they're able to get in pre-IPO to a bunch of these stocks and stuff like that before we can, and then they launch, and then it's like, okay, now you little people can invest. So I see things like investing in Canton, and this is just me speculating. If Canton ends up being one of the major players when it comes to RWAs and tokenization, which it kind of looks like that it is, potentially it could end up being to where we retail, non-qualified investors could benefit from the network, usage. Because
sorry, Mike, we're not qualified to make money. Okay, right. we don't hit that bar. Okay, that threshold. It's a shame, man. We're only qualified to buy SpaceX at the liquidity event when it IPOs.
We're only qualified to be exit liquidity for them.
Right.
That's what we're qualified.
Yeah, that's basically what it is too, because by the time one of these issues gets to initial public offering, like it's already gone through all the rounds, all the raises. So like your opportunity to get it cheap is gone.
Yeah.
So once it gets to IPO, people are dumping. That's what IPO is for.
Look at SpaceX. 1.6 or 1.7 trillion valuation. It's like all the wealthy people have already invested in it. And so whenever it launches, they're going to make out like bandits. I mean, they're talking about Elon Musk with his share of stocks that he might end up being like the first trillionaire.
Great. I mean, look, the stuff that he's
No.
building.
If somebody's to be a trillionaire, that's the guy that I want to be the trillionaire.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's great. Look, anyone who gets to that level, you did so by merit. You did so because you have built products that have positively impacted the lives of billions and billions of people.
Yeah, no, and Elon Musk case, that's 100% the case. I mean, just Starlink alone, he brought high-speed internet to every corner of the globe. You can be in Antarctica, you can be in the middle of the fucking ocean, and you have high-speed internet. I'm in the middle of the woods in a cabin, and I'm streaming live and looking stuff up. I can game, I can stream movies. It from a satellite.
Yeah. I mean, look, Starlink is the cash flowing entity that Mr. Musk is going to, really continue to build out. But he's also going to be building out AI data centers in space. So that's going to be pretty. That's going to be pretty cool. No doubt about that.
I mean, the guy is like launching humanity into like the next era of not just space exploration but power generation, robotics, freaking that Neuralink that he was working on that had the potential to people that were paralyzed. Basically the Neuralink can connect to the certain centers of the brain that control movement and stuff like that. And if somebody has a severed spinal cord, there can be a receiver on the other side of the the break in the spinal cord, and it would basically allow the brain to communicate with their lower extremities or the paralyzed extremities. I mean, the guy is freaking he really is like the reincarnation of Nikola Tesla or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a brilliant individual, and he knows how to size positions well because he goes all in on his stuff. He bets on himself.
Yeah, because PayPal, he was one of the ones that developed PayPal, sold it for a couple $100 million or something like that, and basically was sleeping on friends' couches because he used all of the money to dump in to start SpaceX and to dump in and start Tesla, and was sleeping on friends' couches because he was that broke, because he was that confident of what he was able to going to be able to do. I mean, I don't know a whole lot of people that would do that. I mean, even me, if I had $100 million, I would be living off the interest and just freaking relaxing. I wouldn't be sleeping on friends' couches and trying to do, two stars.
Oh, looks like the Starlink feed it's dying.
Oh, it's all good. Is it? Oh, I think it's David. Is David the one that's down? Yeah, I think David's the one that's down, not me. All right, cool. Let's see. Well, then I'll get back to the news till David comes back. All right. So Japan's regulatory shift. The Japanese parliament has advanced a bill to formally classify cryptocurrencies as financial instruments, marking a significant step forward toward clearer legal frameworks for the industry within the country. This follows yesterday's news regarding Japan's 3 mega banks moving to launch joint stablecoins by March 2027. So this is just further proof. Oh, they David said his internet just went down. He thought it was me, but it was him. David is buying XRP. He didn't want us to see. It is his dirty little secret. I know he has a bag of XRP. But I mean, this just goes to show you, banks, institutions, governments, this technology is being adopted. It really is as simple as doing your research or, finding, channels like ours that are looking for the projects, that aren't hype, that are actually being adopted, that are actually have assets, liquidity, on chain and are actively moving it. I mean, on a regular basis, daily, all day long, 24/7, 365. It doesn't matter if something is tokenized and sitting on the chain. If, for us, as token holders, it doesn't. If the network is not being actively used, because most of the tokenomics, most of the mechanics, in these projects, as it pertains to the token, that value capture that we get as token holders, there he is based off of fees that are generated on the network. So, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, so I've got.
Right. I thought it was. Oh, I can't hear you, David.
No. Still can't hear me.
No, I can't hear you. All right. So DeFi capital raise. The lending protocol Morpho has successfully raised $175 million at a $2 billion valuation. The funding round was co-led by Paradigm, A16Z Crypto, and Ribbit Capital, with strategic participation from Apollo Funds and VanEck. We actually covered this yesterday. That's actually old news. So, but it goes to show you.
How about now?
TradFi, in some of these cases, TradFi, because VanEck is TradFi, Apollo is TradFi. A lot of these, they understand the place that these DeFi protocols are going to have in the future financial system. Morpho on Coinbase is facilitating Bitcoin loans. There's
Mike,
it's the
I think Mike can't hear me, but everyone else can.
That is facilitating a lot of the borrowing and lending, in the ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem. Aave, because Aave, it used to be the 800-pound gorilla, still a contender, but it got taken down a notch with that exploit, and Mike, it has some work to do, to regain that that confidence. Especially when it comes to institutions, they immediately, as soon as they could, they pulled their liquidity off, and it went into stables. We did a quick deep dive on that. Most of it didn't exit crypto, it didn't exit into fiat, but last we looked, it was sitting in stables, USDT and USDC.
See that there, Mike? It seems like everyone can hear me, but
oh shit! Yeah, it was me. I had you muted. Sorry for the technical difficulties. All right.
There we go. So what it was is where I am in St. Petersburg. It is they're right now they're like burying all of the power cables. So they've got construction crews that are going around, and I was running off of the Xfinity internet here, and I think that just went down. So luckily, I've got a backup, a Starlink backup.
See, Starlink to the rescue.
There we go.
All right. So infrastructure and adoption. I think we might have already covered this. Let's actually go to here and see what this article has to say.
So what's the topic here, Mike? What are we talking about right now?
It was going to be credit cards. So basically it's talking about infrastructure and adoption. Visa has publicly stated that stablecoins are reshaping the back end, is their quote, of global commerce, as the company aggressively expands its AI and tokenization efforts. Similarly, MasterCard has introduced agent pay for machines, a service designed to support autonomous AI transactions using stablecoins. Interesting.
But here's the thing.
Oh,
You know, what's the point of having Visa and MasterCard? It seems like that's just kind of an extraneous layer, right? Like, so Visa and MasterCard, you don't need Visa or MasterCard rails at all for your agents to be able to settle transactions. So I'm just kind of curious, like, unless they're building some type of ecosystem, each of those companies, Visa and or MasterCard, for agents that I guess makes it super easy for an individual to launch and use agents in their business or personally. I don't see why Visa or MasterCard matter anymore. Like, Western Union, MoneyGram, Visa, MasterCard, like, these are payment rails, and stablecoins on chain eliminate the need for them. So, like, why does it matter what they say or do anymore? I don't understand that part.
I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it is they're going to have to evolve, to stay relevant, and I think that's what they're trying to do. And
How? Like, how do they actually, like, have anything to do with this at all? Like, so if I want to send you, Mike, a payment, or you want to send someone else a payment, you don't need Visa or MasterCard or any of these rails anymore,
just for payment processing, using a card, because there's a lot of even a lot of DeFi protocols. And I'm sure there's a lot of licensing involved and things like that. Most of them that have their cards for their that so you can use your USDC and USDT. A lot of them are Visa and MasterCard backed.
Oh, so you're talking about spending in real life using fiat rails. Yeah, but what I'm saying is fiat rails and blockchain rails.
Well,
like,
I'm talking about crypto too, because like I said, a lot of these DeFi protocols, when they offer these cards, the Coinbase one.
Sure. Oh yeah, no, I know. I live off of them.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm pointing it out. Like the Coinbase.
So here, just give us all your credit card number there, if you don't mind.
Right,
just
right.
real quick.
But that's my point. Is I think a lot of it has to do with like a lot of licensing and things like that. And not to say that these companies can't become irrelevant in the future, but as it sits right now, I think that they are the go-tos. When it comes to that physical merchant transactions.
So check this out though. Check this out. Imagine if you had a physical piece of plastic or piece of metal, right? Your card, and that card's got that NFC chip in it. But imagine if that was actually like your signer, like the tangent cards.
I get all that. I get all that. I think that what you're missing is the compliance aspect. When it comes to institutions, when it comes to banks, when it comes to government, and I don't know. I'm just assuming that a bunch of licensing involved that allows Visa and MasterCard and stuff like that to provide these services.
I don't think so. I think that's what the Clarity Act is supposed to do for stablecoins, right?
Again, maybe it's something we do a deep dive on, but I mean, the facts, kind of show that these crypto projects, these DeFi protocols, like even the ones that that you use that are decentralized, whenever they offer a card, it usually has Visa or MasterCard or American Express on it.
Well, but check this out. This is the future that I'm proposing. So,
tell me, I said, not to say that can't change, but that's
Mike, tell me if this makes sense. Tell me if this makes sense. So imagine you've got, like, the tangent card. You know those cards. Do you have one of those, or have you seen those? They're a hardware wallet that is a credit card. Yeah. Imagine you've got one of those.
I get it, and that's a very real possibility. But I'm just the way that the ecosystem is now, the way the system is operating. We have to look at the present. We can hypothesize about the future, but that's all it is. It is we need to evolve with it. But as things stand, a lot of these, different protocols, a lot of these
Yeah,
different.
you see what Not Scoop Boy is saying? You don't need Visa. Cold wallets are air gapped. So imagine, Mike, you've got one of these credit card sized signers or wallets, and you go to a
walk down the street and ask a normal person.
Well, that's my whole point. That's my whole point. My whole point is, imagine the stable coin, because you don't need the Visa rails. If you've got a merchant that demands payment in stables, then you could all of a sudden just have your stables on a card and sign with the card, and it completely removes the need for the Visa rails. That's what I'm saying.
Most people don't even know how to onboard their fiat. And you think they're going to be able to...
Dude, most. Yeah.
That's my point. Is no, absolutely. What you're saying, 100% could be the future. I'm just saying
it's the rails.
Now, but right now, we have to look at it as it is. And then, of course, we can, guesstimate, or, we can say, okay, yes, that is a possibility, and make small investments in that potentiality, whatever.
Potentialness.
The potential of that happening. You can invest accordingly, and as it materializes, I would invest more heavily in that. But that's a speculative investment. I want to invest, like with Canton. I want to invest in a project that is actively, being launched on. That's actively.
I bet you, Mike, if that future comes to pass, it'll settle on Canton, because that's the banking rail.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I mean, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo. All the major banks. Even foreign banks. Are all either launched or launching on Canton. They love that architecture. That where they can have their siloed, private networks, but still have connectivity to the whole system. So
you've got your stables on your card. It's you go to your merchant. You want to buy something in real life. You tap your card. Your stables settle instantly on Canton. Boom, boom, done. There's no need for Visa, MasterCard, any of these payment processors in that future.
No, I mean, there really isn't. I mean, you're 100% right. I'm just pointing out that as things sit now, it does matter that Visa.
So Mike, is there any news about the what's that Clarity Act, where we're going to get clarity into how badly we're going to get fucked? Are we going to get that clarity anytime soon?
Let me scroll through some of this,
because I saw that it was it passed some markup or something, and it seems to be moving forward. Maybe, just kind of curious to see if that's ever gonna happen. Tell me about the current state of the.
Look that up, because I got some policy and regulation stuff, but I got a U.S. House and Ways and Means Committee hearing on Republican-backed crypto tax bills have highlighted a deepening partisan divide, particularly regarding the tax treatment of staking and mining rewards.
Yeah, I mean, the government has no say in what I do or you do with your money on blockchain rails. Yeah. No, they have no say. Fucking fuck them.
They have whatever say that they're willing to enforce.
So it says here, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. It says that it's the closest the United States Congress has ever come to establishing a comprehensive federal regulatory framework for crypto and digital assets. Now, what we're waiting for, as of right now in June 2026, is we're hoping that, the Senate is able to vote on this thing. So the House approved its version of the Clarity Act, and it had strong bipartisan momentum. So 294 to 134 was what it passed the House. That was the voted. Now, the Senate committee advanced it on May 14th of this year. So the Senate Banking Committee voted 15 to 9 to advance its portion of the bill to the floor. with a couple of Democrats actually crossing party lines to join Republicans. So why is the bill currently stalled then? So despite hitting the Senate floor, policy analysts recently downgraded the odds of the bill passing in 2026 from roughly 75% to around 60%, with prediction markets like Polymarket hovering at 50%. So the legislative push here, Mike, is hitting two major roadblocks. So the first one is the Senate calendar crunch, which makes no sense to me because, like, okay, let me just talk through it. So timing is the biggest threat. Congress is approaching its August recess, which means these guys just vanish in the summer and they don't do anything. They do no work.
How the hell did they do we allow them with how inept?
Because, man, they vote for their own shit. It's like they're the DAO and they own all the voting rights. Dude. And so they say, hey, I think we vote to take the summer off. What do you think?
It's freaking insane that we allow this to happen.
Yeah. And so there's this August recess. And it also says that very little serious legislation moves in the fall of a midterm election year when members head home to campaign. So rather than doing their jobs, they are either on vacation or trying to get money from donors that's campaigning. So, like, dude, like, horrible. And so it says here the scramble, it looks like they may not even pass it because of that Senate calendar crunch. So here's the next thing: lingering political and policy disagreements. So before a vote can happen, there's a couple of, we've talked about these before, these hot button issues that need to be hammered out. The first one is ethics provisions, of course, led by Democrats. So led by a guy named Ruben Gallego, who knows if he's even a citizen, have demanded strict ethics rules to prevent public officials from profiting from crypto ventures while in office as a precondition for their votes. Of course, probably targeting President Trump. And look, I
agree with that, but I think that should be for stocks and stuff like that too.
Right.
Yeah. It's like if you're drafting policy, and you're the one that is launching, investigations into corporations and things like that, you have insider knowledge. You are insider trading. And Mitch McConnell, a Republican, you got freaking Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, they all freaking do it. And they all do it through proxies, so that, it's not them doing the trading. But you look at like Nancy Pelosi's husband, that's better than fucking Warren Buffett at, to success rate on his trades.
So, what we really got to do is we got to put, Nancy Pelosi and her husband in charge of Social Security. And all they do is they run the investment portfolio for the Social Security fund, and they just invest in whatever. Go ahead, Nancy. You're really good. You're really good at this. You just do your thing.
Yeah. Work your magic.
Everyone. Exactly.
Old coot.
Dude, she's... Yeah, but here's another thing. So it's the ethics provisions. That's the first thing.
Real quick, I want to finish up. So I want to get to this before we do the details.
It's the stablecoin rewards. So if you saw J.P. Morgan Chase, the CEO Jamie Dimon calling Mr. Armstrong full of shit. Well, because crypto rails and crypto products are superior to traditional banking products. So the banking lobby is fighting to strip out and limit these rewards on stables. So that really sucks. And then you got DeFi and so-called illicit finance, where disagreements remain over exactly where...
You mean where we get to make money? Or where we
exactly.
Not the banks?
Right. So they're going to make this shit illegal. Like most of the stuff that we do in DeFi is going to be made illegal. So it says here, where does liability sit in DeFi protocols? They're pushing for these so-called, and they're going to call it anti-money laundering controls, when really what it is they want to steal from you. And they can't tax and steal from you if you own your assets, your sovereign, and if you generate yield and revenue from them in permissionless decentralized protocols. They can't steal that shit, and they want to be able to steal that shit. So that's why they're going to say, oh, well, we got to protect the children. KYC AML, don't you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, you're just trying to steal from me.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. It sucks.
Yeah. All right. So last news: Figure is to acquire Kiavi for $717 million to expand RWA tokenization network. So Figure Technology Solutions has agreed to acquire Kiavi, an AI-powered real estate lending platform for residential real estate investors, in a $717 million deal as the company expands its tokenization push. The NASDAQ-listed company announced Wednesday that it has agreed to acquire Kiavi's technology and operating platform. At the same time, a joint venture between Figure and investment firm Sixth Street is set to purchase Kiavi's balance sheet assets. Figure Technology operates as a non-bank provider of home equity lines of credit, or HELOCs, and runs platforms including Figure Connect and Democratized Prime, which facilitate the tokenization and on-chain trading of consumer credit assets. With the acquisition, Figure said it will bring Kiavi's assets into its blockchain marketplace rails, where its infrastructure will facilitate Kiavi's loan origination flow, trading counterparties, and funding distribution to improve efficiency and reduce costs. So
that's cool, man.
Dude,
that's really cool.
Yeah, tokenized real estate, I am very, very excited for. Not just as an investor,
me too,
but as a real estate owner myself. I own my property outright. I actually own multiple properties outright. I want them tokenized because with like the way it currently sits, I have to go to a bank and please, sir, give me a loan at 7 or 8%. Whereas in DeFi, if my property is tokenized, I can get a much better rate. I might even be able to get like a 2 or 3%. And if I can't, if I can only get it at 5 or 6%, there's DeFi, strategies that I can use to bring that rate down through earning yield. So I can take out a loan against a piece of real estate. I can take that, loan it out, and I can, I could loop that if I wanted to, to where I could actually make a loan.
This is so cool, man. This is super cool. Have you seen recently, there have been these Bitcoin mortgages, Bitcoin backed mortgages, I think through like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. There have been a couple of a couple of Bitcoin mortgages have gone through. I think the first one went through like just a week ago, something like that. But this is going to accelerate, like pretty soon you're going to have Ethereum backed mortgages. That's going to be crazy. Maybe, who knows? Maybe. Yeah.
Well, even Coinbase, it's not the mortgage itself, but the down payment. You can do a Bitcoin backed, home down payments and things like that. So, all of this is it's here. We're in the very beginning stages. If you're not paying attention to prices, you're paying attention to what's being built and what it is being built on. Most importantly, there's a huge opportunity right now. Do not listen to hype. Do not make your investments based off of social media posts. You will get wrecked. As soon as you see a post that claims that a token is going to go to some astronomical amount and they don't detail why they think that, and even if they detail it, make sure that you check what they're talking about, because like XRP is not going to $10,000. There's no
so when it comes to Figure and Kiavi and these HELOCs, like it's not just HELOCs. Like this is, imagine traditional banking, especially when it comes to real estate, being replaced with digital rails. Like imagine how much more efficient and how there's so much less friction in the process when you've got origination of a loan on digital rails, when you use your Bitcoin as collateral, when the
fees that you pay, to title companies and all of these different things get mitigated. The mortgage fraud. Basically somebody can go and file a quitclaim deed at the county and claim they own your property. It happens all the time. People that own their houses people will go and take 2-3 loans out on it. And by the time the homeowner starts getting late notices, 30, 60, 90 days, they're like, I never took out a loan. And the person has,
So that's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah.
So you see what Not Scoop Boy is saying in the chat? He's saying it's not a loan. They consider it an asset that goes towards your income when you're going through the approval process. That's super interesting. I don't know how that process actually works, with the Bitcoin loans. Maybe it's not a Bitcoin loan at all.
You know what? Friggin', that one guy, thank you. Let's go ahead and get into the deep dives.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Let's talk some Keeta. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see what's going on with Keeta, KTA. All right. So this one, I really want to use this thing because it just
introduce what you're showing right there. So this is the node.pro.
Well, I don't have the video content, Mike. I need the video. And the video and the slide deck. Oh, the slide deck's there, but I don't have the source material, and I need the video on the Keeta. The Keeta one.
Do the other one, and I'll check on that. That should be in there.
Okay. So you know what? If you uploaded it to the Node YouTube channel,
just go on to the next project. We'll come back to Keeta.
Okay. Let's take a look here. So let me hop back on in. Oh, Ethena. Dude, I like Ethena. This is what they've been able to do with their USDe product, that algorithmically pegged stable, and the SUSDe product, that yield-bearing rebasing stablecoin, along with all the integrations for those two products. This is for most people who engage in interest rate arbitrage in DeFi. These are the products that you're going to be looking at first if you're operating on a money market like Morpho or Euler or Aave, or there's a lot of them now. This even exists on the Solana blockchain on Camino. I think they're still running some incentivization programs for that. But if you're going to be engaged in that interest rate arb, then you're probably going to be looking at these Ethena products first. It's a good idea for us to understand how these products actually work. So let's go ahead. I'm going to play this video content. And for anyone who wants to follow along, all of this material is available at no cost to you in the Intel library at thenode.pro. That's our official website, thenode.pro. And take a look at how detailed this content is. We've got slide decks for everything, source material for everything. So this is really, really high quality stuff. Let's learn a little bit about Ethena.
By late 2025, the Ethena protocol had reached a period of rapid expansion, with total value locked peaking at over $16.6 billion. Then, on October 10th, a sudden liquidation event rippled through the derivatives markets. In under 36 hours, over $20 billion in leveraged perpetual long positions were completely wiped out. The unwinding of that long bias compressed funding rates to zero and temporarily drove them negative. This triggered approximately $1.9 billion in immediate USDe redemptions within a strict 48-hour window. This visualization maps the fallout. On the left, USDe's supply contracts rapidly, dropping 73% to $3.9 billion. But on the right, the solvency ratio remains flat, holding above 101%. The protocol absorbed this deleveraging without breaking its peg, executing liquidation under extreme duress.
So here's the thing to understand about this. As funding rates changed, then this protocol, Ethena, is not able to pay the same type of yield on its SUSDe product as it was once able to pay. Now, why is that? Well, because what the protocol does is they buy, let's call it ETH or wrap staked ETH, a yield-bearing version of ETH. And at the same exact time, for every $1 of ETH that they buy, they get short $1 of ETH using a perpetual futures contract. And when they earn yield on that ETH, it's the staking yield. So we're talking about maybe 3%, let's call it. But then that short perpetual futures contract, if the funding rate is positive, then they're earning yield on funding on the short leg too. So they're long $1 of ETH, earning 3%. And if funding is positive, then they're short $1 of ETH, earning whatever the funding rate is. But what happens if the funding rate becomes negative? Well, all of a sudden, they're stuck paying that floating or variable funding rate. So that is the risk here with this delta neutral trade that Ethena has been engaged in, which allows them to create that USDe and SUSDe product. And so because Ethena hasn't been through an entire cycle yet, this is their first full cycle. I think what happened here, Mike, is when we saw this massive expansion to $15 billion in USDe, market cap, when we saw that expansion and then this contraction, it could just be, investors a little bit worried about, will Ethena be able to survive a bear market? And also the yields on SUSDe really cratered because as funding changed, they're not able to pay the same type of yields. So I just wanted to, step in there and give everyone a little bit more color on maybe why this contraction happened.
Surviving the 10-10 liquidation cascade proved that Athena's underlying math functioned accurately. However, the subsequent contraction exposed a heavy reliance on bull market leverage, forcing the protocol into a deliberate structural pivot. As of June 2026, the circulating supply of USDe has stabilized at approximately $3.9 billion, establishing it as the largest synthetic dollar asset in decentralized finance. The protocol achieves this scale entirely on-chain. It operates with zero direct fiat bank deposits and holds zero traditional sovereign debt backing. Today, Ethena is transitioning from a single-product, crypto-native basis trading tool into a diversified, regulated financial utility layer.
Right. So this is Athena's running what's referred to as a basis trade.
To understand the mechanics of this transition, we will deconstruct the core delta-neutral yield engine, map its integration with traditional financial credit, and analyze its 2026 compliance-wrapped network expansions. The architecture Ethena relies on today maps exactly how institutional capital bridges the gap between permissionless, decentralized finance and strictly regulated traditional markets. The mechanical separation between USDe and a traditional stablecoin lies in a delta-neutral portfolio. This structural flowchart illustrates the stablecoin's creation. An authorized participant begins by depositing spot collateral, typically a liquid staking token or Bitcoin. Automatically, the protocol executes an offsetting action. It opens a short perpetual futures position of the exact same size on centralized derivatives exchanges. This creates a tightly bound equation. The net portfolio valuation equals the quantity of the physical spot asset plus the size of the perpetual short contract. The result is a net zero exposure to the underlying asset's price movements. If the price of the deposited spot asset drops, the short perpetual position gains an equal amount of value. This perfect offset neutralizes price volatility, allowing USDe to maintain a steady $1 peg.
Okay, so this strategy that they're running, this delta neutral basis trade, what Ethena then does is they mint an algorithmic stablecoin, USDe, against this basis trade. Okay, so that's where the algorithmic comes in for that term algorithmic stablecoin. This Ethena product, USDe, is not backed by US treasuries in the same way that Circle or Tether's products are. It's backed by this basis trade instead. And so once you understand this right here, then what you're going to really start to understand is when you take a look over on a protocol like Pendle, for example, and you look at all these different stables that you see on a protocol like Pendle, they're all basically like, wrapped tokenized representations of some company's yield generation engine. Whatever that is, whatever they're doing to generate yield, they wrap that thing up, mint a stable coin against it, and then there you go. There's your stable. For Ethena, the USDe product is minted against this basis trade.
Once delta neutrality is achieved, the architecture generates yield through two distinct simultaneous revenue streams. The first stream is derived from the physical spot collateral. Liquid staking tokens actively capture Ethereum validator consensus and execution layer fees, providing an average return of roughly 3%. The second stream is highly variable. It captures the funding rates paid by leveraged long traders to short position holders within centralized derivatives rockets. USDe is an automated on-chain basis trading engine designed to harvest structural inefficiencies in global crypto derivatives markets. But the derivative stream carries a systemic vulnerability. The yield generation relies entirely on a market regime where long positions outnumber shorts,
Right.
forcing the longs to pay the shorts. During a prolonged bear market, funding rates flip negative. Short holders must pay long holders. When this happens, Ethena must pay these carry costs out of its own reserve fund to keep its hedges open.
Right, but here's the thing, though. So they can hedge this risk using Boros, Pendle Boros, an interest rate swap protocol.
Slowly eroding the backing ratio. In June 2026, Ethena executed a structural upgrade to decouple a portion of its yield entirely from the cycles of the crypto market. This animated chart tracks the resulting shift in Ethena's collateral reserves. Notice the spot crypto wedge shrinking to accommodate a direct integration of real-world assets, executed through a strategic partnership with Centrifuge. The protocol's risk committee approved an initial reserve allocation of approximately $310 million directly into the Janus Henderson JAA fund.
Look at that. Yeah. You want to buy some treasuries, yeah?
The JAA fund is a tokenized pool of AAA-rated collateralized loan obligations. This represents a highly regulated basket.
Oh my God. CLOs. So you remember 2008, Mike? You remember that little thing called the Great Financial Crisis? That thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember CLOs from where they were holding all these AAA-rated loans, right?
You're like the Big Short?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what was getting traded was, these so-called AAA baskets these tranches.
They took a couple of good loans and they bundled them with a bunch of shit loans.
Yeah, and then those rating agencies, S&P and Moody's, just stamped AAA on them. But they weren't. They were like, a B- or C or worse.
Well, and as soon as everybody started defaulting.
Yeah, the defaults only had to reach like 8% for the things to go to zero. So these CLOs, I really hope that Ethena did their due diligence with
deep dive research,
Yeah, they did it with Jaw Fund.
Yeah.
What a funny name.
Of standard corporate loan credit. Injecting tokenized corporate credit into the reserves establishes a predictable, low-duration yield stream. This asset class acts as a fixed shock absorber, protecting the protocol from the violent volatility of crypto derivatives funding
but
rates.
It also exposes the protocol to a different type of risk. Like, what corporations are they actually holding, bonds for? Like, are they holding fucking pets.com bonds? Or are they holding, it says AAA. What does that mean exactly? It's just a thought,
Oh, yeah.
Even with stabilized reserves, a strict regulatory barrier prevents traditional institutions from purchasing yield-bearing assets like SUSD. Following the passage of the U.S. Genius Act in July 2025, payment stablecoin issuers are legally prohibited from paying yield directly to holders within the United States.
This is why we don't have representatives in Congress that represent us, because they made one of the core innovations of crypto and DeFi fucking illegal. Like, dude, make that make sense. The only way that makes sense is if our Congress is captured by the banking lobby and any other lobby, you name it. So totally messed up.
This comparison matrix details the multi-token architecture Ethena engineered to separate protocol utility from regulatory compliance. The left column holds the permissionless DeFi tokens. The right column holds the regulated traditional finance equivalents, strictly gated by know your customer and anti-money laundering filters.
So check it out. the permissionless DeFi products are superior to the regulated TradFi garbage. And the only thing here is the regulated TradFi garbage, because of KYC AML, that's how they steal. That's how they enable stealing. As long as they can track everything you've ever done, then they can send you a bill and say, hey, you owe us all your fucking money. So that's messed up, man. USDTB is, the Ethena product backed by treasuries. And that's the yield bearing one, I think. And USDe must be the non-yield bearing version. So this is just treasuries on chain. That's all it is. This is not, the innovation that we see in the permissionless DeFi products. And that's why it's so frustrating for me, Mike, because, the regulations are regulating away superior products outside. They're regulating not just the products away, but they're pushing innovation outside of the United States, which is that's horrible. It's horrible.
The first TradFi asset is USDTB. This is a fully collateralized, non-yield-bearing stablecoin, backed 90% by BlackRock's
Yeah, it's backed by toxic sludge, risk-free, return-free risk. That's what treasuries are. So USDTB is just treasuries.
UIDL fund. It complies with the Genius Act and functions as highly liquid margin collateral.
So what does that mean? The fact that it complies with the Genius Act? Well, remember, if it's holding treasuries, this thing, well, then there's yield there of 4.5% or something like that. Why can't they pay that 4.5% to holders of USDTB? Because it's illegal. That's what Genius Act compliant means. Genius Act compliant means this is a piece of shit. That's what this means.
Asset is USDe. This operates as an institutional-grade wrapper for the yield-bearing USDe, using whitelist contracts to enforce mandatory identity verification on all transfers.
So think about how much better the permissionless DeFi products are than the regulated, let's track everything, surveil everything, and steal from you TradFi products. So much better are the permissionless DeFi products.
This wrapper creates a legally compliant pipeline. Regulated investment managers can set up special purpose vehicles, allowing hedge funds and corporate treasuries to harvest crypto basis yields without executing on-chain transactions or interacting with public smart contracts. The viability of this pipeline was validated in June 2026 when Ethena secured a major strategic alliance with Coinbase Ventures. Under this alliance, Coinbase became the primary infrastructure partner for custody and perpetual trading execution, while expanding USDe directly onto its base Layer 2 network. These compliance wrappers and exchange partnerships integrate Ethena into the legal framework required for institutional capital to access on-chain yield. Ethena's long-term strategy focuses on developing the underlying infrastructure required for a multi-chain financial network. On the consumer front, Ethena deployed a payments application natively within the Telegram messaging platform and the TON blockchain ecosystem. Integrated directly with Apple Pay, this application allows users to spend USDe at conventional point-of-sale terminals. The underlying collateral continues generating basis yield continuously, right up until the exact moment of settlement.
Wow. See, I knew I liked TON. That is so cool. So I've definitely got to check that out now. Maybe we'll do that in a second. But if that means that on Telegram, I can integrate, there's some type of payment rail that I can integrate with Apple Pay. I'm sure I can probably do it with Google Pay too. I bet you there's a protocol on TON where you can put up USDe as your collateral, and then you can use that to spend in real life. I bet that's exactly what it is. Dude, I've got to find that. That sounds really, really cool. Because what does that mean? What that means is if USDe is your collateral in your on TON, and you think about it this way, you've got your checking account on TON with USDe in it earning 5%. That's your checking account earning 5%. And then you go to spend, you tap your phone and you spend in real life, you basically just are spending against a checking account that holds SUSDE, earning 5%. That's really cool. That's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can perform some other magic. So instead of spending against it and just spending the balance, if you're earning 5% on your SUSDE collateral, and then maybe there's a money market on TON where you can borrow against that. And if you can borrow against that for less than what you're earning on your collateral, then when you spend in real life, you're actually executing an interest rate arbitrage play where your purchases slowly get paid off over time rather than the other way around, kind of like a reverse credit card.
Yeah.
That
Interest rate
consumer
arbitrage.
momentum with a major infrastructure setback.
Yeah.
On the left is the active TON integration. On the right is the delayed Converge Layer 1 blockchain. Converge was designed in partnership with Securitize as a public, EVM-compatible settlement network optimized for tokenized assets, requiring USDe and USDTB to pay transaction gas fees. By June 2026, persistent mainnet delays forced Terminal Finance, a decentralized exchange built specifically for Converge, to cancel its launch entirely and return $280 million in pre-deposited assets back to users.
Wow.
Ethea's synthetic token mechanics hold up securely under stress, but the operational realities of bootstrapping consensus for a custom Layer 1 network remain a massive unresolved hurdle. The Ethena protocol survived the death of its speculative hypergrowth phase. It operates in 2026 through a dual-engine model, counterbalancing the volatility of crypto basis trading with the predictable stability of tokenized corporate credit. As the protocol stabilizes, it is reinforcing its foundations to mass institutional volume. Through the engineering of specific compliance wrappers, complex on-chain derivatives math has been successfully translated into legally sound products designed specifically for traditional financial balance sheets.
Yeah, so this product right here, you just got to understand exactly what it is that you hold when you hold this, TradFi version of the DeFi product. This is like a derivative on top of a derivative on top of a derivative. There's like 3 layers before you get to this thing, IUSDe.
By separating risk, yield, and regulatory compliance into modular layers, the protocol now functions as a bridge between permissionless liquidity and regulated institutional balance sheets.
Okay, so Athena's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I like Ethena. I like what they've built. It's extremely useful, all of their products. But if we take a look at the governance token, I don't think that it's performed well. Yeah, that's not what good performance looks like. So, but maybe there's an opportunity here. We're getting close to the end of this Bitcoin bear market. Maybe another 90 or 100 days, and then you need to be buying. So maybe if we run a deep dive, Mike, specifically on the Ethena tokenomics, we might discover that there could be an opportunity here. I don't know, but I'm definitely interested to find out. I would like to have more in my moonshot bag, my moonshot shopping list anyway, than just like a handful of what I consider to be speculative altcoins. I'd like to include some stuff that I think could do like the crazy tight moonshot returns that we've seen in the past out of crypto. So like for Ethena, it's Ethena governance token. For it to return to its old all-time highs, it would need to do like a 20x. That's what I'm looking for. I want some moonshots. I want some lottery ticket type plays.
Yeah. To go with your Bitcoin and your other safer plays.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to have a little bit of that lottery ticket in the back.
Exactly. Pocket. Yeah, like $1,000 in Ethena, if it does a 20x, goes to 20K, awesome. Something like that.
Overall, if my portfolio, if I can get a 10x, I'm happy. On average, if I can get like a 20 or 30x on some, and maybe 5x on others, but it averages out and it ends up being like a 10x, done.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. So just taking a look here at Ethena, definitely this is worth revisiting, with some deep dive research on the Ethena token and tokenomics. Let's switch gears here, Mike. We ready to talk about Keeta?
Yep, I got that loaded up, and I just posted on X that we were about to start our deep dive on it.
Awesome, dude. Let's take a look at Keeta. So before we take a look at the video content on Keeta, I just want to take a look at the token, and then I want to take a look at, okay, this is not enough data. There's more data for this one. There's Kraken. So this is Kraken data, but I think there's even more data. Give me the more data. Okay. More data. Okay, so here's KTA. This is looks like a Pyth contract on one of these dexes somewhere. So, it got rejected from the 200-day moving average a couple of times, but I'm not necessarily just focused on the price performance of this thing right now. I want to learn more about it. What I'm also interested in doing here is, Mike, that Keeta.com.
Well,
Keeta,
the Keeta personal that
yes,
I was here. Yeah.
Yes, dude, so cool. So cool. So we're going to get to Keeta.com in a second. Let's run through that video content first and learn a little bit about KTA and Keeta.
The legacy financial system and decentralized blockchain protocols operate on entirely different structural frameworks. The Keeta network was engineered as an institutional-grade Layer 1 to act as a bridge, connecting traditional fiat networks directly with programmable on-chain assets.
Okay, so just real quick before we continue this, just think about the sheer number of these Layer 1s that propose to do exactly this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bridge between TradFi and crypto.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many of them. So just wanted to point that out.
Oh, absolutely.
This screen shows a stark contrast. On the left, Keeta's verified technical limits, a theoretical throughput of over 11 million transactions per second with a finality of just 400 milliseconds. But on the right, the KTA token presents a conflicting reality of stagnant valuation and downward price action. This persists even as Keeta secures direct integrations with legacy payment networks, operating Visa Direct and SWIFT gateways within its architecture. This infrastructure is heavily capitalized, backed by $20 million in seed funding and prominent figures like former Google CEO Eric Schmidt. It even maintains a physical corporate headquarters in Santa Monica, California, operating under a recognized SWIFT business identifier code. The network is successfully attracting institutional integration, but its specific enterprise architecture actively prevents that adoption from translating into demand for the public KTA token.
Uh-oh. Did you hear that?
No,
that's no bueno. Yeah.
I want to hear.
Speed by abandoning the linear blockchain. Instead, it uses a hybrid per-account directed acyclic graph. Each account forms its own independent ledger, allowing the network to process transactions in parallel without the traditional bottlenecks of global network congestion. The disconnect between network growth and token price stems from the tension between the asset's intended demand drivers, a persistent structural supply overhang, and specific architectural pathways that allow institutions to utilize the network while bypassing the token entirely. Standard crypto heuristic rules assume that as a Layer 1 network grows in utility, its native token scales in value. Keeta shows us exactly where that logic breaks down. This flowchart details the intended closed-loop economic engine of the Keeta mainnet. The primary demand driver is the gas settlement mechanism. Transactions require execution fees paid in KTA, and the protocol burns a percentage of fees to systemically reduce total supply. Because Keeta uses a delegated proof-of-stake model, network security relies on users locking up and delegating their tokens to validation representatives. To encourage users to remove KTA from the liquid market, the network offers tiered staking rewards between 5 and 12%. Finally, KTA acts as the baseline collateral reserve for on-chain fiat and cross-network swaps, anchoring external liquidity pools. This three-pronged demand structure, gas, staking, and collateral, is the standard value capture model for Layer 1 blockchains. It works smoothly as long as all network volume flows strictly through these channels. But the viability of this entire economic engine depends on one factor. It must generate enough organic demand to outpace the token's aggressive inflation schedule. This stacked area chart breaks down the 1 billion token hard cap of the KTA supply. Currently, only about 55% is actively circulating.
That's not good.
The remaining 45% is locked within smart contract vaults. This creates a severe structural supply overhang. Keeta utilizes a continuous linear vesting schedule for early investors and foundation treasuries. Spanning 52 scheduled events through August 2029, over 449 million tokens will systematically bleed into the circulating supply. The network also executed an anomalous token generation event. Of the 500 million tokens reserved for the community ecosystem, 80% were unlocked instantaneously at launch. On-chain data reveals that these unlocked tokens bypassed open market price discovery entirely, transferring directly into heavily concentrated holder addresses. Neutralizing this dilution requires massive organic transactional utility that the enterprise architecture restricts. The only significant counterpressure to date occurred in mid-2026, when on-chain intelligence detected major whale movements from exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken into active liquidity pools following a retail application launch. The first major barrier neutralizing KDA demand is baked into the base ledger protocol, the multi-token fee model. When traditional financial institutions process cross-border payments, they operate under strict margins. They require absolute price predictability and cannot expose settlement pipelines to public crypto volatility. Returning to the mainnet flowchart, Keeta allows network participants to configure transaction fees natively in stablecoins or tokenized fiat. This creates a structural leak. A corporate client bypasses the KDA gas token entirely, routing volume through an alternative fiat fee path. This is highly effective software. Keeta Business allows corporate treasuries to process international remittances, while cutting traditional correspondent banking fees by 50 to 70%. As these remittance channels come online, the aggregate transactional volume processed by the Keeta network scales exponentially. However, because of the multi-token leak, the native token captures precisely zero of this utility.
Oh, God.
Major commercial banks can utilize Keeta's 11 million TPS throughput.
Yeah, so that means that these banks, they can actually use this to, facilitate transfers, maybe, if they choose to. But it doesn't mean anything for KTA. Yeah.
So that, as it sits now, KTA has no value capture.
None.
And high-speed settlement rails with
In fact, Mike, it's worse than no. It's actually negative because it's inflating away too.
Having to purchase, hold, or spend a single KTA token. The second, far more severe barrier to KTA's value capture is Keeta's deployment of private subnetworks. Commercial banking consortiums cannot run sensitive financial data on a fully transparent public ledger. They require dedicated private databases, complete transaction privacy, and customized compliance engines. Keeta's private subnets provide exactly this. They run the same underlying technology, the parallel DAG processing and mempool elimination, but operate entirely within a closed, permissioned loop. We see this high-level institutional adoption taking shape through sovereign joint ventures, like the initiative with the UAE Ask Group to tokenize regional energy commodities. But inside these private environments, the consensus mechanism shifts. The participating institutions run their own validating nodes. Securing their ledger no longer requires staking or delegating public KTA tokens. Transaction fees inside these walled environments are strictly settled via tokenized fiat, completely circumventing public gas requirements.
Okay, so it looks like everything that's good about Keeta doesn't involve the token
at all.
That's a problem at all. It like completely bypasses the token.
Enterprise volume inside the subnets will rapidly scale into billions, while retail volume on the public mainnet remains flat and isolated. Keeta's architecture allows financial giants to leverage its powerful technology stack without generating any economic demand for the KTA asset.
That sucks.
In this model, the public chain acts as little more than a live demonstration platform for the underlying software. The technological supremacy of Keeta as a settlement layer is factually sound. But in infrastructure analysis, technical utility does not automatically equal token value capture.
Right, Mike, we got to start talking about this more because people are always like, utility.
This is all I'm talking about because like Ondo is a perfect example. is
Well,
the utility of the tech, and the tokenization that they're doing. They're doing gangbuster business, but their token has nothing to do with that. And
value capture.
it looks like Keeta's the same way, and I hold Keeta. I have a bag of Keeta, and I'm actually looking right now to. I'm full disclosure, I'm looking at swapping out of it.
Yeah, I mean, opportunity cost. Holding something that basically, like, okay, it's got utility on the retail chain, but that's it. Like the token, there's no utility for the token on where the actual volume is. Like, and then there's no value capture. In fact, it's negative value capture because it's inflating away. So when people talk about, well, the token's got to have utility, okay, yeah, but it's also got to capture value in some way. And it's pretty clear from this deep dive research that KTA actually does neither, because the utility for the chain, for institutions, they can pay with fiat. They don't pay with KTA. And utility for the KTA token really is zero. In fact, it's negative, and there's no value capture. That sucks.
The exact architectural features that make Keeta attractive to traditional finance, price-stable multi-token fees, and isolated private subnets, are the specific mechanisms crippling the token's structural demand. Right now, KTA functions largely as a speculative venture asset, one that has to continuously battle the downward pressure of an active linear supply schedule. Evaluating this token requires a strict framework. Analysts must stop tracking theoretical transaction speeds, B2B software integrations, or legacy SWIFT partnerships as indicators of KTA price action.
Right.
The only metrics that actually matter for the token's valuation are public mainnet DPost lockups and organic retail onboarding driven by the Keeta personal consumer application.
Right. So this is the way that KTA, the token, suddenly number go up for that. And so I can't wait to take a look at that personal retail onboarding thing in a second here, because it looked super cool. But we'll take a look at that in a second.
Those mid-2026 whale movements represent the only current counterpressure to the scheduled 2029 dilution. Unless public usage scales to absorb the constant unlock schedule, institutional adoption of the technology remains irrelevant to the token holder.
Right.
Keeta succeeds as a bridge between banks and blockchains, but until retail activity on the public mainnet outpaces enterprise subnet evasion, the KTA token remains structurally isolated from its own network's success.
Wow. Damn.
That's
super,
dude.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for token holders, but it's definitely, extremely enlightening for someone like myself who didn't know anything about Keeta or KTA, not really. So yeah, man, it's a shame.
I literally just swapped, and not to say that you can't. I mean, you can make money. I mean, shit. People have made money on XRP. People have made money on XLM. They've made money on a bunch of these projects with shit tokenomics. Off of pure hype and trading it short term and stuff like that. It's not to say that you can't make money on KTA, but you need to understand that if you're buying this because you're bullish on the technology long term, and you're treating it like a Microsoft or a Tesla or an Nvidia or something like that, it's not. The way the tokenomics sit right now, and like I said, full disclosure, I just swapped all my KTA into USDC.
I thought you were going to say Arrow.
Yes. I got plenty of Arrow.
I am the Arrow.
I am the Arrow. And so, no, honestly, this was an eye opener for me. The same way that our deep dive on Aave was an eye opener for David.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. Here, let's do this. I'm going to just create an account just real quick with Keeta.com. I'm going to use a seed phrase here. Enter a seed phrase. Generate a new seed phrase. Great. Thank you very much. And because I can't get the passkey thing on the Keeta website or whatever, I can't get that to work. So Keeta.com. Gotcha. And I'm just saving this thing real quick. I don't really want to write it down or take the time to write it down like right now. So there we go. Now I can click import, and that should work. What I just did, it should work here. So let's go import, and I've got to write down all these 24 words now. So I just want to go ahead and do this real quick because I really.
Well, you do that real quick. I just want to point out, Ginger Prince, we got a bunch of no-cost content on the Node.pro, not just these deep dives. If you're interested in learning more about crypto, more about DeFi and how protocols work, stuff like that, we have DeFi University. That we don't charge for. The Intel library that we're our depository where all these deep dives that we do 2 a day, Monday through Friday. This is a daily show. Jeff that you're talking to, the BCR 142 in the chat, he has a show on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I believe it is, right after this show, where he does deep dives like this using this model for very early projects. So projects that might not even have a token yet. They haven't gone through a token generation event, so you might be able to find some gems in there. So there's a bunch of stuff on our website that you're probably going to find valuable.
Yeah, no doubt. And also that newsletter product is going to be done shortly. I am working diligently to get that thing done because I think it's going to be extremely valuable for all of us to be able to, have a reliable source of information that we can take a look at every single day during the live show. For that to be our newsletter. I think that people are really going to get a lot of value from that. I know that I will once it's done, because I'm the one building the thing. So I really want it to work extremely well, and it's going to. So I'm just creating this Keeta account right now, and I think it just needs one more code, and then I'm going to be able to hopefully start using this thing, and then we'll be able to show it off. Show it off live here on the show. So I think it's going to let me in now. Hopefully it won't try to KYC me immediately or something like that. I think that it probably will at some point, but let's see what happens here. I'm just finishing up creating the account here, Mike. And I'm going to give myself a custom display name. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Choose a Keeta tag. Cool. I've got a Keeta tag now. So great. Here we go. Check it out. Yeah. So this is Keeta.com. This is the wallet. So it says get verified to unlock bank transfers, digital assets, and more. So this is a fully KYC'd environment here. It looks like a legit bridge between TradFi and crypto. So if I say get verified, what's it going to ask me to do? Okay, so it's going to ask me to add a certificate are issued by licensed providers, identity, business verification, accreditation, and more. Pick a country to see. So it's going to ask me to do footprint KYC. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll do that in a minute, maybe for tomorrow's show. I can show everyone how this thing actually works. Okay, so here's my spending, it looks like. And so I can spend from this, and it looks like maybe, okay, so it wants me to deposit KTA, but what if I just want to deposit USDC? Okay, look at that. Or I can deposit US dollars from mainnet, from Arbitrum, from Base. Okay, I can deposit euros. I can deposit Coinbase or Bitcoin, CBBTC. Awesome. So stables, KTA, and Bitcoin is what you can deposit as, I guess, your collateral or your holdings in this wallet. Let's say that I want to send. So here's the Keeta network. So I'm on the Keeta network, and maybe I select a bank account. So I'm sure that it would allow me to select a bank account here. So the payout method would be to a bank account. That's really cool. So I can go directly from crypto to my, evil, dirty fiat bank account. Probably back and forth. And I bet I can set a recipient here. Okay, so I can send on all of these chains, but this is what I was looking for: bank transfers. So, dude, this is actually really cool. So if I don't know of another way, maybe EtherFi. I think EtherFi can do it there too. But this is super cool, Mike. So if I've got, let's say, Bitcoin, and I need to make a payment to someone in Australia in Australian dollars, it looks like I can do that right here from my Keeta account. That's super cool. That is super cool. Now,
it's just important to understand, the difference between, the tech and the token.
Right. Well, I mean, it looks like these payment rails, you see, here's the thing, here's a question. Just because it's showing me these payment rails from the retail facing account does not mean that the retail chain that consumes KTA is what is used to facilitate this transaction. So if I've got, KTA or stables in my Keeta.com retail wallet, and I want to make a transfer to a bank account of someone in Australia, that doesn't necessarily mean that the retail KTA chain that consumes KTA is what's used for that transaction. It could be, just the walled garden part of the chain that doesn't consume KTA. I don't know, So, but this is pretty cool. If you're happy with doing KYC, and if you don't hold the KTA token because it seems like it doesn't really do anything. But this looks like a pretty cool product though. But tech and token, those are different things, so, but yeah. And I like the tech. I definitely like the tech. The token, not so much.
Yeah.
But today, taking a look at ETH, bouncing. ETH up 4.25%, Solana up nearly 6.25%, Hype bouncing 10%. BitTensor Tau up a little bit. BNB looks like Monero having a pretty good last couple of days, basically clinging to that level of trend line support that I drew in there, just like that. So, Monero bounced in a big way off that level of support at 292. Oh, and Mike, I saw a piece of news earlier today about Zcash. Apparently, like some initial estimate is that 1% of the entire supply was like fraudulently minted in that orchard pool.
You're breaking up a little bit. How much?
1% of the supply, apparently.
Ooh.
What? I don't know if that's true. We're going to find out. But yeah, this, ouch for Zcash. So yeah, man. And then tomorrow, we get, right? Tomorrow we get Mr. Musk's SpaceX. Mm-hmm. And so look at this bounce, man. This is a big bullish engulfing candle. The NASDAQ up 2.5 percentage points today. And the Russell, look at this. So when the Russell is ripping like this, very, very close to fresh all-time highs for the Russell, that tells me that, even with yields on treasuries up at 4.48%, that equity market participants think yields move down, not up, down. So because the Russell is interest rate sensitive. So if interest rates are going to fall, then you buy Russell items. So yeah, I'm watching all this stuff. And Ginger Prince is saying Curve Dow is pumping. I've been taking a look at Curve in a long, long time. Curve Dow, let's take a look at this. Today, plus 20%, making its way back up to that 200-day moving average at 29 cents. So watch for 28 or 29 cents to act as some type of resistance for Curve Dow, the token. But I want to go ahead and wrap things up here today by taking a look through the Node.pro. And we've got a ton of great content here, and all of this content, the vast majority of it is at no cost. So like, if you're just landing here at the node.pro on our main website, the first thing that I recommend that you do is hop into the Intel library and take a look at all of this amazing deep dive content that we've produced on a bunch of DeFi protocols and coins, layer one coins, tokens. There's great stuff in here. Definitely take a look through this. The AI newsletter, this is the next thing that you should look at. I have been working hard to make this thing legit, and it's getting there. It's getting close. So once this is done, this is going to be your source and our source for news, and not just in crypto, but in a bunch of different asset classes. So as I scroll down through this, think not just crypto, but equities, commodities, bonds, forex, maybe macro stuff. So not just crypto items. There's going to be a lot of value in here, and it's almost there. It's very close. Now, this is an AI newsletter. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that I've integrated this with the Hermes agent. So I put an AI agent, I built a bot into this. So check it out. You can ask Hermes about your brief. And the brief is generated, the newsletter, which we call a brief, is generated based on the assets that you care about. So you can, if you subscribe to this, then you can come on down here and, ask the agent about your newsletter. And you can say, hey, what was the reason why, XYZ token moved today? And it's going to be able to tell you. So super, super cool. Now, if you want to join our Discord, you can do so at no cost. I've got to fix the sign up link here. It's broken right now. But if you want to join the Discord, you can do that at no cost. We're on and live, on Discord every day, all day, basically 24/7. So a lot of stuff going on in there.
Right now. Ginger Prince actually just joined. So
yeah. And if you want to join the premium live calls that we host 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, what I do on those premium live calls is for an hour with members, I run through the content that we talked about during the regular session, but then I show people how to actually profit from that. So, look, I'm a professional trader, and regardless of, whatever strategy you're running or assets that you hold, we can talk about it at a group level during these premium live calls. So definitely take a look at that. The store here put together a bunch of really, really cool merchandise for, the node.pro. So this is all of our merch here. If you want to support us, we appreciate it. And then, of course, all of this educational content, all of these courses, these are all no cost. So if you scroll down here and just take a look at this, the high school, the DeFi high school, introduction to DeFi through to, money basics and beginner stuff, staying safe in crypto. But then you get into DeFi University. This is much more advanced content. So why don't we take a look here at like concentrated liquidity provision, for example. You take a look at this course material. If I hit start course, this is the course material. So you've got a podcast for every single lesson. You've got video content for every single lesson. Each lesson is formatted in a way that makes it really easy to read through. You can jump to any section that you want. Every module has a quiz. So you're going to take quizzes after you go through every module. So this is like, if you want to build a crypto and DeFi skill set, this is the place to do it. But this isn't all that we've got. There's also private coaching that I offer. So if you want to speed up the pace at which you build your crypto and DeFi skill set, or maybe you've got portfolio positions that you want some guidance on, I'd love to talk to you. You can schedule a no-cost discovery call here for half an hour. We can chat. But we've got even more than that, because I've been working on an API. So all of the content that gets displayed in that AI newsletter, it's basically like a big data dump. And so to take all that data and structure it into a newsletter, I also structured it into an API that you can call, and then you can use all of the news in your dApp or your app, whatever you want to build, you can do that using our API. So there's a lot going on. And of course, we've got 9 original shows.
that's the most important thing is all of our live shows. So if you can tune in to our shows, probably the single most powerful thing you can do to help us grow the channel and show people this content that David just went through. That a lot of it, no cost content, no tricks, no gimmicks. We just want to help people learn and not get taken advantage of. There's a lot of people out there that charge hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for the stuff that we give away. For lesser quality stuff than what we give away. So help other people find this material, please.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe. That's probably the best way that you can support us right now. Unless you just want to send us money. That works too. I'm just kidding about that part. But a lot of the products, man, like that AI newsletter with that AI agent built into it. It's very nice.
It's very nice.
So that's what I have, Mike. I think
I think there's
that's
a little
right,
bit,
man. Well, a good call starts and ends on time.
There's a little bit of lag, so we appreciate y'all and appreciate you tuning in. So we'll see you later on today. I believe the next one is the blockchain report should be going on right now, and then later on will be David's market wrap, where he'll be going over what went on in the markets today at market close. And I think that's it for today.
Red pill.
Oh yeah, no, we got red pill tonight. So if you want to have a drink with us, smoke it if you got it, and listen to us talk about some crazy shit, join us tonight for the red pill. So with that, thank you all. Until next time, Veteran Crypto out.
Peace.